I'm Lois Beckett with Guardian US. We're here in Louisville, Kentucky at the NRA's annual meeting, one of the front lines of the 2016 presidential campaign. We're here to ask people a very obvious question. What do liberals get wrong about guns? What do liberals get wrong about guns?
We'd like to be treated less like rednecks and more like intelligent folks.
One of the things I think they think that we're all crazy people just running around killing people instead of just wanting to exercise our Second Amendment rights to protect ourselves, protect our property.
Well, they think that guns are only used in crime, and actually guns are used for self-defense, hunting, and sport shooting of all kinds.
It's the people that didn't grow up hunting, that grew up in the cities, fearing what people use for violence instead of fearing the people themselves.
Gun violence in America?
Yes.
Yeah, we need more guns.
Why?
Why? To protect ourselves from the freeloading damn Democratic liberals that are ruining this country.
What do liberals get wrong about guns?
What I've got to say, you can't air on TV.
You sure nothing at all?
No, ma'am. The FCC would have a field day with it.
You told me you're a Democrat. What would you like to see the Democrats do on guns?
You know, the Democrats and progressives get so much right on how social welfare needs to be improved, on how health care needs to be improved, how voting rights and women's rights and everything else needs to be improved. And then they have this backwards approach on self-defense and firearms ownership that is just completely goes counter against history.
President Obama has complained many times that the NRA keeps saying that he wants to take people's guns away, and that in fact he just wants to pass pretty modest gun control laws. How would you respond? Do you think that's a fair complaint, that people are overstating what he really wants to do?
No, I think they're spot on. They chip away at our rights a little bit at a time, and we accept it, and before long we won't have any.
When I was a kid growing up, it wasn't an uncommon thing for us to take our guns to school so we could go hunting after school, and nobody thought any differently because at that time our mentality was different. It's changed a lot in this country since then, and I think it's because we've created a gun fear culture instead of a gun education culture.
You know, I think an assault weapon ban just scares people. Every mass shooting is bad, right? And it's sad. Doesn't necessarily mean that we need to take away all guns or restrict certain types of guns.
You know, assault weapons are basically just scary-looking rifles, and all rifles in general are only used in 3% of homicides per year. So targeting assault weapons as something we have to do, you know, is basically emotional pandering.
There are 33,000 gun deaths every year in America, more or less. What do you think could be done to bring down that number to save more lives?
You know, education is key. Understanding, you know, guns are dangerous, but it's what an individual does with one that makes it that way.
It doesn't matter what law you put in place. People are going to break the law because they have no respect for the law.
For everything in life.
So it goes for everything in life.
How's the gun control going in Chicago and in D.C.? Is it going pretty well in Chicago?
We have 300 and some odd million people in America. When you're talking about 11,000 murders a year, you're talking about a statistically tiny bit, a tiny number of people in 300 million. Now, don't hear me wrong. It's obviously, when it happens to you and it's in your area, it's terrible. But, you know, let's recognize, as a problem in America, as a public health problem in America, it's minuscule. So deal with the bigger problems first.
Have you ever had to use a gun defensively for yourself or your family?
I've never had to pull the trigger, but I've actually had to show the weapon.
And was somebody overtly threatening you, or you just sort of decided it would be wise to display?
No, I was being overtly threatened. Yeah, it scared the crap out of me.
At one time I ran a jewelry store, and I was open late at night. A guy came in, locked the door behind him, and said, "What would you do if I tried to rob you?" And I had a .45 automatic and said, "I would shoot you with my gun." And he said, "That's all I need to know," and he left.
I was attacked, I was raped, and I was almost murdered. And for me, it was a horrible experience, very traumatic, and shooting changed my life. I got the power back. So instead of being defenseless, I finally had a tool that helped me. It was my equalizer.
We're here in Las Vegas for SHOT Show, the world's largest gun industry trade fair. It's where the industry comes to celebrate its success, and there's a lot to celebrate. 2015 was a record year for gun companies.